The house stood alone atop Hollow Hill. It was a specter against the dying light, a skeletal silhouette against the bruised canvas of the coming night. The wind howled through the eaves, sounding like a chorus of tormented souls. The windows, like vacant eyes, stared out blankly. The house was a monolith of dread, a testament to time and tragedy. Its shadow stretched long and gnarled, swallowing the hillside as darkness descended. The paint peeled from the walls like scabs on an old wound. The porch sagged, threatening to collapse in on itself. The yard was overgrown, consumed by weeds and choked by neglect. It was a place forgotten by time, yet vividly remembered by the nightmares of the town below. The house on Hollow Hill was more than just an abandoned dwelling. It was a crypt of secrets, a vessel of sorrow, and a beacon of fear. The last family to occupy the house had been the Bakers. They were a family of 5. John and Mary Baker, their teenage daughter Sarah, and their 2 young sons, Billy and Tommy. They had moved into the house with hope and dreams, eager to start a new chapter in their lives. Their laughter had briefly echoed through the empty halls, a fleeting melody soon silenced by an unsettling silence. One crisp autumn evening, the Bakers vanished without a trace. Their dinner was left half-eaten on the table. Toys lay scattered on the living room floor. The family dog whined at the back door, his pleas for attention unanswered. The Bakers were gone, leaving behind only whispers and unanswered questions. The townsfolk searched high and low, but their efforts proved futile. No sign of the Bakers was ever found. The house on Hollow Hill had claimed another family, adding their names to the long list of souls lost within its walls. Derek Hale scoffed at the stories. He dismissed them as folklore, the ramblings of superstitious minds. He was a man of logic and reason, a firm believer in the tangible and the verifiable. He refused to entertain the notion of ghosts and hauntings, dismissing them as figments of an overactive imagination. He saw the fear in the eyes of the townsfolk, the way they avoided even mentioning the house on the hill. He saw an opportunity to prove them wrong. Derek decided to spend a night in the house. He planned to debunk the myths, to expose the house for what it truly was, an empty shell, a crumbling monument to unfounded fear. He packed his bag with essentials, a flashlight, a notebook, a camera, and a healthy dose of skepticism. He was determined to emerge from the house at dawn, victorious and vindicated. He would show them all that there was nothing to fear. The old house creaked and groaned around him, a symphony of settling wood and rustling leaves. The air inside was heavy, thick with the scent of decay and the weight of unseen eyes. The darkness seemed to press in, suffocating him with its intensity. Derek felt a shiver crawl down his spine, a primal instinct warning him of unseen dangers. He brushed it off, attributing it to the chill of the night air. He explored the house, room by room, his flashlight cutting through the gloom. Cobwebs clung to every surface, and dust lay thick on the floor. Shadows danced at the edge of his vision, twisting and contorting into grotesque shapes. He heard whispers in the silence, disembodied voices that seemed to emanate from the walls themselves. He tried to rationalize the sounds, attributing them to the wind or the creaking of the old house, but a seed of doubt had been planted in his mind. Derek paused in the master bedroom, drawn to the ornate mirror above the fireplace. It was a beautiful piece, with an intricately carved wooden frame. He raised his hand and ran his fingers over the cold glass. His reflection stared back at him, a perfect mimicry of his every move. He turned away, but a nagging feeling made him look back. His reflection no longer mirrored his movements. It stood still, a smirk playing on its lips. Its eyes, once a familiar brown, now glowed with an eerie, otherworldly light. They seemed to follow him, watching his every move with a malevolent intensity. Derek stumbled back, his heart pounding against his ribs. He blinked, and the reflection returned to normal, his own startled face staring back at him. He tried to convince himself it was a trick of the light, but the image of the sinister reflection lingered in his mind, a chilling premonition of the horrors to come. The house felt different now, alive, its energy shifting around him like a predator toying with its prey. The temperature plummeted, sending a wave of icy cold that pierced through his jacket and chilled him to the bone. He tried the doorknob, but it wouldn't turn. It was as if the house itself was holding him captive, preventing his escape. Panic clawed at the edges of his composure. He raced from room to room, frantically trying every door and window he could find. Each one was locked or jammed, sealed shut as if by an unseen hand. The whispers grew louder, swirling around him like a vortex of tormented souls. They taunted him with his skepticism, mocked his disbelief. He was trapped, alone in the darkness with whatever evil lurked within the walls of the house on Hollow Hill.